Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Oh my goodness. Are anyone awake? I'm still trying, but good morning. Good morning to those joining us online. Thank you for coming here on this very muggy day. And today we're going to have our lecture done by our friend Rafa, and he's going to talk about do not hide your lamp. But as always, before we do, Davi is going to do the initial reading for us.
Drench your mind in study as much as possible. Study frees the mind from ignorance and develops the discriminant. Study and work are the wings that further evolution. Knowledge is the message of life. Learning is not limited to the classroom. Life itself is an open book that teaches those willing to learn. Thank you.
So let's now close our eyes, elevate our thoughts to our Master Jesus, and all the beloved spirit friends present here today with us. Let's ask them to open our minds and our hearts for the lecture of today, that we may be inspired to learn a little bit more of Jesus' teachings. Please inspire friend Rafa. Thank you, so be it.
Thank you, Raquel. Hey guys, good morning. It's been a few weeks since last time I came here and I was listening it. You start feeling that you kind of life start making you a little bit more irritated. And I said, oh, it's time to go back to business. So today I would like to talk a little bit about chapter 24 of the Gospel according to Spiritism. Do not hide your lamp. Let me see if this is working. There we go. Did you change there or it was me?
I think you did.
Yeah. Okay. So when we talk about bushel, it's just a cover. So it's at that time it was a wicker cover, but it could be, we can understand as any cover that we put on a lamp. So Jesus used this analogy because that was the main source of light at the time, those oil lamps. And I think that we can all understand that by lamp he means light, our inner light. And Kardec in the chapter 24, he uses this light and lamp like interchangeably. So it means our spiritual light, our inner light. And the question is, do we all have it? Yes, we all have it, all of us. Even those that are suffering or that they take a different path in life that means creating suffering to other people. So all human beings have their light. We are all loved, not just by the creation and the creator, but we're all loved by someone. We all have family members, whether we remember them or not, whether they are here with us in this incarnation or they are waiting for us in the spiritual life. We all have loved ones and we are all loved. So we not only emit light, we not only have the capacity to love, but we are loved and we receive light. Some of us have brighter lights, others have dimmer lights. Sometimes in the course of our lives, we become brighter or we become dimmer. And I want to talk a little bit about them. I want to go deeper in this little teaching from Jesus and what he meant with these words. Well, why would I do that? So I want to talk first, or to put ourselves in the perspective that would allow us to understand the importance of going deeper in the words before we actually go deeper into those words. So these words were was told to us by Jesus. And Jesus is a perfect spirit. So what do we mean by perfect spirit? It's not a spirit that it doesn't evolve anymore. No, Jesus will, it evolves as we do. So we're always going to be evolving and learning. But he went through all the stages of evolution that requires us to expiate our errors. So he's completely free of his own conscience. So everything that he does, it's according to the laws of nature, the laws of God, laws of creation. So everything he does is directly in accordance with his own conscience. So that makes him free. He doesn't have to incarnate. He doesn't have to be connected to a planet. Actually, he can go from one planet to the other without any problem. He can help planets to be formed. So it's even better than Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel can go all through the universe. He can help planets to be created. And Emmanuel, from Chico Xavier, in the book On the Way to the Light, he tells us that when our planet looked like this, it was just in the beginning. So the planet was still unstable, and it was with very hot, very high temperatures from the bombardment of matter, asteroids. So it was a product of the condensation of the matter around the sun. So when our planet was looking like that, Jesus met with his team in the solar system, where it doesn't matter. So those guys, they don't have to meet in an office. It's hard for us to understand, but they're not connected to matter as we are. And they discussed what was the plan for our own evolution. So there's a purpose to this planet. The purpose is to serve as a school for spirits like us to learn. And this happened 4.5 billion years ago. How do we know that? When rocky formations or rocks form in this situation, a very high temperature, they have what we call isotopes. So it's a particular formation that is not very stable. So with time, it changes. So after it cools down, it starts changing. For example, they are reaching uranium. So uranium it's an unstable atom. So that's why it's radioactive, because it doesn't stay the same. It starts changing. And uranium seeks to transform into lead, which is stable. So, and we know how long it takes from uranium to transform into lead. So by measuring the amount of uranium is still present in the rocks, we can work backwards and date those rocks. So this is one example of the light that we have developed as a civilization. We can date our own planet. We discovered. So we know that the oldest formation in our planet is 4.5 billion years old. And then we infer from that our planet is 4.5 billion years old. But why I'm talking about this the age of our planet, if I was talking about Jesus? Because 4.5 billion years ago, Jesus was already a perfect spirit and was meeting to decide on our future. We were not even intelligent principles yet. We were seeds that would be planted in the protoplasm of this planet and would emerge as unicellular life and start our path. So we were just seeds of life at that moment. And Jesus was already talking about the situation that we're living through right now at this moment, the transition periods, and how would that would come to be. So this spirit decided to come among us 2,000 years ago, to speak our language, to look like us, to be among us, to make friends, to eat with us, to have supper. So if you imagine this, our light, our spiritual life, is fruit of everything we are, all our incarnations, all our experiences, even if we don't remember, but that's what we emit. And this spirit was the one responsible for the creation of our planet. And he was there just sitting down. So so his example, even if he didn't open his mouth, would already teach a lot. Because he was giving us, he was shining his light. He was not covering his light. But at the same time, he was not blinding us. He was giving us just a little bit. And the way that he found to do that was through stories, through parables, because he knew that that's easier to remember. It would stay with us. I don't know about you, but I still remember the stories that my grandma used to tell me when I was a kid. I remember it was designed for me to remember as a kid. So if you see in the book Jesus in the Home, psychographed by Neil Lucio, Chico Xavier and the Spirit Neil Lucio, the whole book, all the chapters, is just Jesus sitting down and talking to his friends, apostles or other people that would join, having supper. And people would come and so imagine if you sit with a spirit like that. You would like to ask several questions, and they did. But he knew that he could not say everything. He had to just give us phrases that we would remember, like don't cover your light, or don't place your lamp under a bushel. Very simple. They had to do that every time. Every time they wanted to dim the lights in the house, but not go completely dark, they would put a bushel on top of the lamp. So they knew exactly what that meant. So all this is to show us the importance of really studying the gospel, because it's the word of this spirit that has no pride, no selfishness, and it has a lot to give us. It's a spirit that waits for us to develop a little bit more so that he can give a little bit more. He shines his light as we grow, as we develop our own light. And he's teaching us that we ourselves should also share our light, should never cover our light with a bushel. So for that, in that mentality, Now we can see the importance of studying a little bit more, trying to understand a little bit more his teachings and his words. So if we continue making the parallel between light and lamp, when is it that our internal light starts shining? In the animal kingdom, when we start developing our free will and our knowledge, our light start flickering, start sparking, start going on and off, on and off, on and off. And then when we become humans, or as we define in Spiritism, spirits and no longer intelligent principle, that light becomes permanent. It never disappears. As I said before, it gets brighter and dimmer, but it never disappears. We maintain this light. And immediately, since we are never alone, we can categorize this light in two classes: emitted and received. So the light that we emit into others and the light that we receive from others. And as I said before, our light, we shine this light on everything that we do. Our thoughts, our words, very important. The tone of our words, our body language, and our actions. All this comprises the light that we shine in the world, because this is the way we communicate. This is the way that we exteriorize what we are. And at the same time that we should not cover this, we should not close ourselves in a cocoon and not participate society. We should take Jesus' example and not blind people. We all have professions, right? We have to pay bills, whatever it is that we do. And if we are in that profession for years, just for the fact that we are incarnated and we are paying bills for a long time, so sometimes we end up doing the same thing for like 30 years. Then we learn a lot. We learn a lot about that particular action, that particular profession, whatever it is. And we gain the power to talk a lot about that. And sometimes we sit close to someone and we talk everything that we do in our profession, but sometimes that is not the most charitable thing to do, because that person is not going to understand or is going to be uncomfortable. One example that I've seen everywhere: fear of math. People that they see numbers and they feel completely uncomfortable. They don't want to see that. It creates an angustiating feeling. Why is that? That is going to become apparent a little bit further down the presentation. But this is because that person has been blinded. It means that maybe the teacher himself or herself was a blind person and was not able to actually deliver that subject with the actual meaning, and it creates a trauma. We have this power. We all of us have this power. We can talk about the fact that we come here on Sunday and we follow a doctrine that is based on the immortality of the spirit, incarnation, and communication with spirits. That's okay. We should not be ashamed to talk about it. It's our light. We don't want to cover it. But we also should not push that down people's throats. So, you have to believe in that. Or you start an argument with someone that follows a different religion. So this is us blinding. It's not us not covering our lamp. we can understand the cover of the lamp, the bushel, as being selfishness and pride. It's us talking about the knowledge that we have acquired just for us to feel better, not for those who are listening to us to actually understand or to try to share knowledge. We are talking about that so that people would not understand us and think, oh, this guy is really smart. That person is really smart. But it has no purpose other than pride and selfishness. So this is another meaning of covering our lamp with a bushel. It's covering our light. We never know when someone would approach us knowing that we follow this doctrine in hope of finding consolation. But people that are in need will never know that we do this, that we do, if we are ashamed of it and we never talk about it. We never let anybody know. We live in secret. That's what Jesus meant in the same chapter when he says that, in my words, if you are ashamed of me, I'll be ashamed of you. So if you are ashamed of sharing your light, of talking about your convictions, you also are not going to collect the fruits from helping people through those. When someone requires consolation, more often than not, that consolation comes through us, through the creatures, the spirits that were created. How many times we were in a situation, a difficult situation, and someone tells us that makes us feel much better. If that person hadn't told us whatever it is that it was, maybe we would still be on that situation. So we never know how far it goes, our impact on other people. And the more we develop this light through, as Joana D'Angelo was saying here, through knowledge, through development, through self-improvement, the more impact we create in other people. And we never know when we will be the tools to develop that person, to help that person develop. And what is the best way for us to allow our light to shine? There is one chapter, chapter 7 of this book, Jesus in the Home, where Philip, one of the apostles, and when they were sitting down, just like that, and he comes and asks Jesus, because he knew that Jesus has talked many times before about serving, about being a servant, and he had shown that by washing the feet of everybody. On the situation where people were start saying, hey, you are the master, you are the Messiah, you are the best, and he felt, okay, I need to teach these guys a lesson about being the best. And he kneeled and washed their feet to show this is what it means, being the best, is to be a servant, is to serve. And then Philip asked him, who is the best servant? How can we be the best servant? And then Jesus thought a little. And again, I bring the fact that that spirit 4.5 billion years before that happening was helping to create the plan. So you imagine the wisdom that he has and the size of his light, but he didn't, in order for us to not blind anybody. And then he thinks a little bit, and he doesn't answer directly. He tells a story. And in this story, it says, one day there was a village, and in this village came a warrior. So this village didn't know how to defend themselves, so this warrior came with weapons and taught them how to defend themselves. But then that's all they did. They spent all day training, jumping and fighting, and many young people died during the training. And it still didn't bring any improvement on the village. They were still very unhappy. Then after that, a politician showed up. I don't know why, but there was a lot of people showing up on this village, but that's Jesus' story. So a politician showed up. They didn't know all the types of government that they could be. So this politician divided the village into parties and showed them how to vote and what should be the differences in between the parties. So you think like that, then you go to that side. If you think like different than that, then you go to another side. So then there were arguments, there were fights. Everybody was unhappy, and the politician just left. And then he came a philosopher with a lot of books. And he started teaching about philosophy and questioning everything. And then the villagers, they got locked into this philosophy, and they were questioning their own existence. Who am I? Am I a person? And they got stuck in meaningless questions that they were taking them nowhere. And then the philosopher left. So they come, but they make things worse, and then they leave. What was the last person? Sorry, I forgot. But it's so all these people, they came, but they could not create any real benefic change in that village. And then later on, it came another guy, but this guy had nothing. He didn't have weapons. He didn't know anything about politics. He didn't know anything about philosophy, carried no books. The only thing he had, it was that he was a very nice guy, very nice and very industrious. So he knew how to work with his hands. So he would come, okay, what do you need? I need help building my house. Okay, let's build your house. And then, oh yeah, you know, my wife is giving me trouble. Yeah, but you need to forgive her, because if you see things from her side, and so far he went. Just being a nice guy and helping people here, helping people there, then start creating gardens and plant flowers and talking to people, just talking to people. And the village became healthy and happy. And then they went back and took what they learned from politics, but this time they cared about each other. Everybody around that person learned a little bit more about caring, and they were able to create a system of government that would work. They learned how to use philosophy in the proper way, and they stopped fighting. The village grew. And then Jesus ends the story, and he thinks a little bit. And then I want to read, because this is best if I just read his words. Answering Philip's initial question. In fact, there are many workers who deserve the blessings of heaven because of the good they bring to people's body and mind. But those who educate the eternal spirit by teaching and serving stand above all others. So the difference is the politician, the philosopher, the warrior, they all had their lights, but they were covered because they were doing for themselves. They were not thinking about the people. They were not thinking about teaching and sharing their light. They were just thinking about themselves. So their lamp was covered. What Jesus is saying is that if you think about others, if you think about teaching, not because you're better, but because we all have something to teach. And to teach, it means that you want to share. It's not just tell people what you did or what you can do, but you want to teach. And you want to serve, you want to help, you want to do your duty in society. We are here now, we are incarnated in this planet, we live in this city. So we all have our duties. And we can all be servants. That is Jesus' lesson. And then he showed that with his own example. You guys remember this scene. Jesus is the kid, and who's the father? Joseph. Joseph. Nobody knows anything about Joseph because he didn't care. All he wanted was to support his family. All day working in his shop, fixing wooden things, selling, and creating. Imagine if there was no Joseph, how could Jesus have been lived up to 33 and then he start his mission? So that's why Mary had time to go and talk to her cousin Elizabeth. So because he took care of everything else. It has nothing to do with the man is the one that supports the house and the woman is the one that follows. It has nothing to do with that. It's about serving. That's all he did. He just wanted to serve his family. And Jesus showed that this is what we should do. That's what I'm going to learn with my father. And I'm going to, at this moment, his mom, Mary, had gotten him what would be the equivalent today to a grant, a study grant in one of the best universities. Let's say a scholarship at the University of Toronto. That's what she had gotten him when he was a kid. And he said, I don't need to learn anything. I don't need to go anywhere. I already proved you. So first he said, I understand, Mom, why you're doing this, but I have already proven to you that I'm already with God. Meaning, I know all that already. So what I'm going to do is going to go and work with my dad. I'm going to be a carpenter like him. So this is why, again, the importance of studying the gospel, because everything Jesus did and everything he does still for us is a lesson, is an example. Everything is embedded in his light. And proportionally, we have to learn to do the same thing. You can tell me, okay, but why is it that he didn't tell us everything? So he did everything in parables and enigmas. Not everybody. With the apostles, he spoke clearly. We can see that from the letters of Peter, letters of Paul. We see that they go a little further. They give us a little bit more of the light that Jesus shared with them. Why? Because at the time of the letters, we had already learned a little bit more. Jesus waited 2,000 years for science to be developed. For us, imagine if he would talk to us about the universe and the solar system before we even knew more about our own planet. At that time, there was a hidden world which was west of the Atlantic Ocean. Nobody knew what was there. They were too afraid. All the travels that they did was by ship looking at the coast. So don't lose the coast of sight. You always look at the coast, because if you lose sight of the coast or the countryside, the land, you may not be able to find it again. So they were very afraid. So how to talk about these people, Jupiter or Sun or Mars or everything else? They wouldn't understand. They would feel like us and math. It creates that trauma. It's an anguishing feeling. So imagine if right now we could go back in time and talk to Canadians of the 19th century. Okay, and then we talk to them about artificial intelligence. We show them a laptop with a learning algorithm, and then we show an application of that on a driverless car. It's not a matter of believing or not. They would believe it would be there. We could like take the car, maybe a DeLorean, and show them all these things working, and we would know how to explain that. Those people will just shut down. This is too much. They can't. It is too much. They will just feel sad. They'll feel depressive because they can't grasp that reality. And it's the same thing with us. It's too much light. So this is us talking about the received light instead of the immediate light. It has to be gradual, little by little. When we learn about evolution, then we start receiving psychographed books that talked about the spiritual evolution. Before that, Kardec was just talking about hypotheses. When we learn about subatomic physics, then the spirits told us about the matter of the spiritual world. Before that, no, I'm already talking about the 20th century, 1930s. So it's little by little, little by little. And if you think, okay, now we know a lot, why don't they tell us more? I'll give you one example that to me is really difficult. Maybe you guys think about it, maybe you don't. What does it mean to be immortal? Have you guys thought about that? It means that this planet is going to disappear, but will still exist. Where would we be? The universe will continue expanding, or maybe it's going to contract, and we'll still be around. Doing what? How would we be living? That's scary. Or if you think on the other way, God always existed. How come? Who created God? And then you think, okay, the Big Bang. What happened before the Big Bang? Then there's one thing. The study of time. We know that the Big Bang was so concentrated that there was no before, because time stopped right there. Time actually initiated. So how can we think about the infinite time if time was not there? One ray, so once the Big Bang exploded, then jets of light start going everywhere. The universe, it became so big so fast that those lights are still traveling to us to this moment. And we know that from the background, that we take a picture of the sky and we see these rays of light is still getting to us right now. But imagine if we are that ray of light, there is no time. We move only in space, but not in time. So everything is instantaneous. The Big Bang, the eye that captures it happen at the same time. So I don't want to confuse anybody, but what I'm trying to say is There's so much that we don't know. And the consolation comes from the fact that we must be patient because one day we will know. So when we think on all these things, and if you are like me, that you lose your sleep, and you get into a state where you feel that knot in your stomach because you have no idea how to interpret those mysteries. You should calm down, breathe, say that one day we'll understand. We can't right now, but one day we will. We were the spirits who will never have understood artificial intelligence 1,000 years ago. We were here. We were already learning. But for us, all the concepts that for us we take for granted, we would never have understood. It was too much. But we are here now. So we will continue to learn. And that's why we should not want to get all the answers at once. Our emotional stability is a little bit fragile. How do we know that? Okay. Drive 2 hours in traffic and try not to get irritated. Yeah, that shows, are you really stable? How is it that then you want to know the mysteries of the universe? You can't. We still need to learn. We still need to learn. And this should be enough consolation for us to continue moving on. Why? So we take these pictures of the sky and we see the background microwave light from the Big Bang. Have you guys ever thought that nobody detected any colony? Nobody detected a colony. So we know that there are spiritual colonies circulating our planet, orbiting. Nobody saw anything. We can see as far as gamma rays. Nobody detected anything. Imagine the day they do. It's not going to be an easy change. It has to be slow. We found out about spiritual colonies around 100 years ago. It's very recent. But the day that we are ready, we'll be able to. Something's going to happen, I will be able to. Maybe one day we'll be able to use our laptops to talk to our spiritual family that had already disconnected. We won't need mediums anymore. Don't they have that on Solar? They do that. So maybe one day we'll be able to. It's physics, it's matter, it's science. It's not something forbidden. We'll get there. They live in matter as we live. It's just difference in frequency. We can't capture that frequency yet. So this is one example of the light that we receive. And in the same way that we want others to be patient with us, that to deliver things in a selfless way. So if you want to tell me about quantum mechanics, okay, don't throw everything at me. I'm just going to get scared, and I will never want to learn about this again. Just think about my learning curve, not your knowledge. Just show me your light little by little. It's very easy, and we have this power. We can all talk about something that we know a lot and blind other people. But it's easy to figure out what is the right measure. Just how is it that you want to be treated? And that's the same thing with our opinions. We should share our opinions. We should talk about what we think, our convictions, but not blind other people. When we start thinking only about our own words or the sound of our own voice, then is when we put the cover back, is when we are no longer useful. So that conversation is no longer useful to anybody. And if someone wants to do the same to us, the best thing is just stay quiet. There's nothing else you can do. So what I wanted to bring is this hopefully a little more deep interpretation of what it is, not hiding our lamp under a cover or under a bushel. It's basically remember that your light is as important as anybody else. Your opinions, your convictions are as important as anybody else's. And the only rule is treat others the way you want to be treated. When you talk about your opinions, your beliefs, and your knowledge, whatever it is that you have, it will be fine. Charity and servitude. Thank you, guys. So, any questions? No, any comments? Nothing from the internet?
It's a lot to think about it.
Yeah, that's the idea. Is for us to try to understand more of this wise spirit that taught us so much, and there's so much that we still are trying to learn and gather from his example and his words. Okay, so we changed a little bit our protocol. So
no, Raquel. Yeah. Raquel. So you're done.
okay, I'm done.
All right, so thank you everyone for coming. Thank you for those who joined us online. Have a blessed Sunday. We are going to get ready for our passes here.